It says I'm alive. Well, I wish to say greetings, salutations. It is a Friday evening, pretty sure. The 6th of October, October, I'm thinking way too ahead. July, the 6th of July, 2018. I'm your host, David Null, and also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers. I greet you with love, honor, respect, and thank you for listening, paying any attention. I hope this is of some value. Now, recently, I'm always watching folks as far as their journey into learning about gaining more spiritual information. And sometimes some of this is self taught. And I wish to say that I learned a lot of things through dreams and vision type things. And when it came time for my apprenticeship with a real shaman, medicine man, that uh, this person was very, very surprised at how much I knew about the types of ceremonies and how things are laid out, what polarity, different things. Things that and I should have been taught by a person, but I was taught these things through dreams. And so if you were going on a scale of 1 to 10, I was at 8.5. And it was like, whoa. So, but there were certain things, little techniques and little tweakings to what I already had learned in all my studies with Buddhism. I grew up a Catholic, so I got all that. My study into the occult or supernatural, if you will. I have seen ghosts. A ghost saved me and my family from burning up in the house. There are many things that I've seen and, excuse me, experienced that I know other people haven't. And so I know that the things that I speak of are real because they have physically happened. Other people, a lot of times, have been witness or knew of the situation or something. Maybe didn't see the ghost or the apparition, but were aware of the fact that that's what caused us to wake up, for example. Okay. Also, I was able to pick the person out in a family album, which was interesting to the grandson of the where I lived. But anyway, it's important that I stay to give a little bit of my background every time when I start one of these videos, is because um, my journey as a shaman, and I trust that word more than I trust anything else. I have meditated on it, and that yes, that would be the best terminology to use for the type of background that I have, because there are still things I need to learn within the with my Native American background that is still being hidden from me. But I've learned a lot about Buddhism and Hinduism and this and this, Wiccan, all earth energy. And that's where I'm at, basically. So, without having to do with I'm a magician, which in many ways a true shaman is a magician, and it has to do with how um, what your intent is. Like, for example, if someone needs a healing, or maybe it's like right now, I just felt that it there needs to be some clarification about what does your spirit mean. Is this something magical? And I have often referred to it as earth magic, Majik. That's my spelling. I'm trying to differentiate it from everybody else's just so I can be clear. I'm speaking about using Native American type traditions, but any indigenous race who has lived in huts, in teepees, in small, villages, anybody that is that close to the ground understands certain things. They understand sometimes the ritual and what it is to dance on the ground and to get a certain cadence and to get the ground moving and to get everybody in the same type chant. Now, a lot of people will say, And I'm not going to dispute whether or not there were any type of human sacrifices. I'm not even going there. It has more to do with the energy that is produced with when a group of people are doing the same thing and creating a vibration. Now, everything these days is being discussed about high energies, low energies, vibrations of people and places and things, and just vibrations. And vibrations are being raised on the planet. I will continue to do videos on the Schumann resonance. And as a matter of fact, while I'm rattling on about that, I will check the Schumann because I wanted to do that before I started, but this will only take a second. Where is that? Right there. All right, we had a little bit of bounce this afternoon on the Schumann resonance. Nothing really great, but the vibration is still going up on, and it's bouncing up into the 20s. And but there are like these microbursts coming down, and you can go and check out the Schumann resonance. If you go to Mr. MBB 333, it's down on the right hand side of the page, not very far. Hit the button; it'll take you right there. And thank you, Mr. MBB. Now about the spirit energy and about the earth energy. And I listen to a lot of different folks, and I really honor anyone and everyone who's honestly trying to find their spirit guide, their energy, their soul, the light within them, however you wish to describe this. And so I wish everyone, and from this point forward, I want you to understand, as a director of plays and all types of things, you have to be able to give a critique. Okay. So this, if anything I say, it's more as a critique, not as a cut or a drag or pointing your finger and that's bad. Stay away from that. If you think that's what I'm fixing to do, please just stop now. Thank you, because I respect everyone. But what concerns me sometimes is that there are some types of information, and one of the things that in doing things, as far as passing on energy to someone, when you shake hands, most people shake with the right hand. Why? Because you're giving. Okay, that was also the sword hand. So a knight had to sheath his sword to shake hands because most of them were right-handed. Okay, the odd left-hander, but that wasn't the point. Now with that though, it has always been a showing of giving with your right hand. Whether it be up at with Knights of the Round Table, that it was the giving of faith and friendship to shake, because you had sheathed your sword, or at least you were holding it in your other hand. So that you're promoting trust, honor, because as a knight, to put your sword away, you're putting a lot of honor in your handshake. And so right hand giving goes way back. Okay. Right hand giving. Now the left hand, a lot of times, has been associated with negative. Now, it was given to me way back when that left is for out, as in left out. Just a simple, easy way to remember that if you're trying to channel an energy and you're trying to pick up a flow, you wish to something go out of you. Now, that brings up a very interesting point. What is it that you wish to go out? Is it negative energy? Or maybe it's a feeling that feels negative. And what you need is to ground yourself with your left hand on Mother Earth. Okay. So there have been times when I put my right hand down. There are times when I'm flat on the ground, face in the dirt. Thank you. But also picking up the energy. And there's something to be said for just laying on the ground, face up, face down. I did it in respect, and it was my own personal little ceremony of thanks to Mother Earth as a, not as a worship, as in tribute. That's all. Now, a lot of people want to mistake that something that I say is like, well, this is some kind of a cult. Forgive me. If this is about understanding who you are. My weird way of interpreting things to maybe help you find those spiritual things that are already in you, that's in everybody else. You can find it reading different passages. You can find it reading the Bible. I suggest just the Jesus part, the Gospels, leave Paul and the rest of that mess out. The Apocalypse, or Revelations, as the King James Version is an interesting read, and we're pretty much there, okay? The bad guys had to play this mess out because it said so in the Bible. Now, I know that might sound a little crude and rude and all that kind of stuff, but that's how some of these people are. They have been working on this for thousands of years. They have changed the Bible over the years, as I have stated in previous videos. So you have no idea whether or not what you are currently reading is anywhere near what was meant or written back then. And by having the opportunity to check the different readings and so forth, going back into the Greek readings and interpretations, you can find truths in there that you just go, oh, holy crap, you know? So with these energies and things, I want to make sure that I can give a little bit of information about polarity of left and right, what it means to use them, what discharging negative energy can mean to you and to Mother Earth, but also it sets up a return type of energy. Well, let me just get into this without trying to figure out particularly what the topics are. But I just wanted to, this is what I'm going to touch on as long as it takes me to get there, okay? So I thank you if you made it this far. I'm going to try to make this even more interesting. Now, so I've learned different things, and for many years, I have been called a Heoki, meaning that I'm sort of the trickster in the tribe, and that I even have a long ski hook nose type deal, and have had jokes over the years with my big ears and my long nose and ha ha ha. And I've always played the clown in different parts in many different productions. The tally that I have, not counting all the puppet shows and stuff I did. Now, this is not a brag. This is just what I used to do. That I've been in over 85 stage productions with setting lights and directing and all, the whole shebang. I've directed, 6 or 7 plays and put them on, just saying. So when I'm speaking about this, I have a lot of experience, and I've picked this up over the years. I've worked with different people, different methods, as far as getting young actors or people who've never been on stage but always wanted to give them the opportunity and the confidence. And I've been so blessed here recently that some of these people have come back and said, Mr. Dave, I can never thank you enough for you helping me to get on stage and having faith in me. And, you know, I just saw it in them. When I do things like that and have worked with people, I see things in them that they don't see. And I have the confidence that they will find that in themselves and then be the person that they can be, or the actor or whatever. But by playing the part, that is an extension of themselves, because that's really what they want to do, but they lack the confidence. So with a little bit of instruction and a lot of encouragement and some poking and prodding, and, you know, everything will be okay. And also trying, you know, do your dead level best to make sure that the show goes up. And so what does this have to do with spirituality? What does this have to do with energy, right, left? What are you talking about? Well, in order to get 10 or 12 people to work together in a theater production with all the sets and the lights and everything, it's a choreography that, if you're a good director, and I've been patted on the back by many folk, and I thanked them because I wanted it to be fun. Yeah, we got to work, and yeah, we got to be a team, but my best production there was like 35 or 40 people in the production, and we all worked together. And I loved every person that helped, all the tech people, everybody but it was team effort. I never said, "Oh, look how great I am." I stood aside and said, "You 35 or 40 people are the bomb, because without you people, this wouldn't have happened." And it's absolutely true. But at the same time, it's the energy that I was putting forth for them, to them, with them. We can do this. We can do this. You can do this. You can play this part. You can do the lights. You can work whatever it is that you want to do or are doing. I trust you. Let's do this. So I tried to gather the collective energy. Now, there was always the giving on the right, and there was also, you had to let go of some of that energy. All right. Now, in order to recharge, if I want to recharge properly, which hand would I want to go to Mother Earth with? I know I dropped the theater thing, but that was an expression of how I use energy, is to bring a group of people together to do an absolutely wonderful thing. And hey, let's all have fun and have impact on the community. And so I'm very blessed and very thankful that I've worked with some of the most marvelous people. If I'd ever went to Chicago or New York or been on the big theater, blah, 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 I could not the people that I worked with are just priceless. And most folks never met them, but we put on these beautiful productions, made hundreds and thousands of people laugh for things that we performed. And I could just consider that just thank you. Now, but that's what you can do with a positive energy thought, and that's what I wish to put forward. So when I want to recharge, I go to Mother Earth, and I sit and I ask a tree or the place where I wish to sit, and I will usually kind of wander around in the field, in the woods, or something. Depends on where if you let Mother Earth guide you. And it's sort of like a dog going around trying to find the right place to poop. That's a bad analogy, but in a way, because they'll search and search, and you'll think, okay, they got it this time, and they go, no, something's not right, and they'll move up to okay. It's like that in a way, in that your spirit will look for the energy spot that it requires, however, whatever you're at, if you just kind of allow it. Just go outside, take a deep breath, and say, well, I wish to go over here around a tree. Show me where I need to go. Just think it, breathe it, say it out loud if you wish. Okay, backyard, here I am. I want to come and sit down. Where should I go? And there might be a little voice that says, over here, and you go over there and sit down, and that'll be an energy spot. Now, that spot might not be the same spot 2 days in a row, especially the way the energy fields are going right now on the earth, okay? So the vortexes are actually occurring here or there, and they're trading places. One's a positive, one's a negative. So it's really interesting watching some of these things going on right now. And with the Schumann resonance going up and down and spiking, it's spiking in different areas of the planet. Thus, these vortexes, energy vortexes, are happening in little minute ways and in bigger areas. It just depends on the area. But they're happening. That's why there's weird weather around here, down here in South Georgia. I, have never seen as many clouds come in from the Atlantic Ocean for as long as we've been watching clouds come in for the Atlantic. Something has drastically changed with the wind patterns down here. What used to come from the west, northwest, and come across, or at least from the west, we've been getting easterly winds now for the last 2 weeks. What? And I know there's something out in the Gulf of Mexico the Atlantic Ocean, but that's my point. The Gulf Stream has almost stopped going up the East Coast because of all the Corexit and everything coming out of the Gulf of Mexico. It has stalled. And so the weather patterns have changed. And I love the rain every afternoon or whatever, but oh, goodness me. But there are small little swirls you can see that I don't believe are HAARP, because HAARP leaves lines in the clouds. These are swirls. Now, maybe they've moved to a different type of harp technique, which is possible, but it's happening. And I think it's more about the earth reacting to some of these energy spikes that are clearly seen on the Schumann resonance and other spikes. There's magnetic fluctuations going on that are just going up and down and all across the United States. And I'm speaking mostly about the United States, but it's happening all over the earth. It's just not just here, understand? It is all over the place, varying degrees. In fact, in watching this one particular thing at Null School, I think it is, the weather thing, there's an electronic or magnetic phenomena going on all the way down the Appalachian. And if you take into, and it's linear, it's not like an overlap googly goop. It's linear. It looks like somebody carved out a line of magnetics across there, either not allowing it to come in so you see it brighter on either side. But every time that thing flashes, it's like, what the dickens is going on there? But I mean, it goes all the way down into Alabama, North Georgia, Chattanooga, and all the way up there. And if the satellite's not picking it up, or maybe they don't want you to see what's under that, I don't know. But if you go look at it, it's a long rectangular box. That's strange. But that also means that these fluctuations are hitting different areas of the planet in different ways. So some places are more charged than others, and not necessarily at the same time, because of the way these magnetic anomalies are happening on the planet. They're kind of rotating and floating and doing this thing along with everything else. So when in a lot of traditions, the left hand should be placed on the ground so that you can release any bad energy. Now, at the same time, you have to understand that you can also receive good. If you are releasing negative in a grounding way versus being ugly or nasty, you're just trading it, and you put this hand up to the sky, then you can feel the energy transform through you. Now, sometimes, and I'm understanding, and there are some people who would say, but Dave, that's just wrong. Now, listen, you want to give energy with your right hand. That's true. However, if you correct your polarity, then when you ground negative to Mother Earth in the right places, almost any will work. But, if you can find your spot, and like I say, it's moving around right now. But if you will put your hand down on the full ground, if possible, maybe it's on a piece of cement, I don't know, but try to do bare ground if you can. That may not be possible. And it can come up through concrete. I mean, just saying. I've seen a vortex in the middle of a parking lot because it was a vortex before it was a parking lot. But so anyway, so by grounding yourself in the correct place, though, that energy can come into you, but it can also flow through you. So what you think is your negative side is actually going to draw good, positive energy from the earth. And it's going to go through you, and it's going to make you feel like the energy is coming from above when actually it's coming through you. So now there are folks who want to put up their left hand to the sky first. I wish to give you a different point of view. Understand that especially now that our atmosphere is compressed, these are goings on. Now, I'm being told to talk about this. This was not on my agenda for tonight. So, but that you can get more for your bang or buck or whatever if you just stop and think, okay, if I ground my left hand and put my right hand up versus my left hand up to pass along energy. First, you must fix your polarity, and that will help fix your polarity. Now, as I stated before, I was considered to be a Heoki. So in some of my ceremonies, I actually went counterclockwise, where most folks or beings or whatever would do it clockwise. And so my instructor, shaman medicine man, we had months of discussion about this and whether or not my energy, because of just who I am and things that got me up to this point, if I should be going the opposite way, in that as a Heyoki shaman, that the going backwards is the correct way. So I've spent a lot of many years of prayer on this. And I've understood something very basic. And it's that sometimes you have to go backwards. And I think, as I've been told, as a Heyoki, the understanding is when it's time to go backwards, when it's time to go counterclockwise, because that may be actually unlocking energies or releasing negative energies in a positive way, in a backwards kind of thing, where most people think that ground, it's, oh, the positive. Actually, the energy is on the negative side. It's how it flows through. It's interesting. The more I got into electronics again, I started remembering things. And so that's why, steel pipe down in the ground, you ground all your electronics to it, so it's grounded to the earth. Grounding is very important. So if you ground yourself, which will also help you pick up the current frequency versus waving. I'm not being mean to anybody, don't, please. But I'm saying, if you're waving your hands around like trying to feel where the energy is, you will be best put to task to put your left hand on the ground. Maybe even both, but you'll have to separate them. You'll get the idea. However, to be able to put your right hand up, and it will actually, like I say, it's sort of like lightning coming from the ground up, which it does. It does both. So you'll be like pushing up, and then the energy will be coming in. So you can create your own vortex with your right hand. Okay. Now, the next thing will be to how long do you ground yourself? As long as you feel is necessary. Now, if you do a cleansing, some sage, maybe some, if you don't have that, some pine or fir or juniper or something like that. Any evergreen that is dried is actually as good as sage, sort of in a way, because it has to do with being alive all the time, which makes it sacred, even pine needles. But those are a little too much. But if you take some dried juniper, anything that's an evergreen, all right, and doesn't take much, but that can be your sage, all right. Now, that's something that most folks don't know, that's a little inside secret in the fact that, well, I can't get sage. You can still smudge yourself, especially if you go and you ask the bush or the tree or the plant or whatever it is, may I have some of you? I wish to use you as sacred for my personal, just cleanse me. The plant will understand and will respect you, and you'll get 10 times more benefit out of it. Now, a lot of people say that's a bunch of hoopla. However, any good medicine man, real medicine man, always ask the tree or the bush or whatever it is, may I please have some? You never just go up and pick. That's disrespectful to the medicine, to the plant, to the planet, to Mother Earth, to the nature grid thing on its own, to the collective on an earth energy. So any good medicine person is going to go up, find what they need, maybe even bring some water or maybe a bit of tobacco, something as sacred, so that you give something for taking what you give. Now, if you just respect the plant and ask it and say, I would like to have some of your fresh leaves, please. I have a healing I need to do. Will you allow me, please? And it'll just be a non-negative or, yeah, okay, and take only what you need, only what you require. And thank the plant afterwards. So that is true medicine, at its really basic level. Now, these are the types of things true shamans, who are taken out into the woods or out into the desert or wherever it is and are shown these things. You have to get down to thanking everything and mean it. Not just go, that's an ant. I don't have to thank the ant. No, you need to thank that ant because it carries off other things and disposes of it. Now they're a pain in the neck when they get in the wall in the wintertime, but you chase them out and say, go somewhere else. But still, everything has a place. I mean, I dislike mosquitoes up the doom. That's why I'm not outside right this evening. They're all over the place. But we've had consistent rain for the last 10 days, almost every day. And so with that said, I see how the energy is changing. I mean, the grass feels different. The water that's coming down is cleaner somehow. I mean, it's like I actually went outside and stood on my new little walkway that I've been trying to finish for so long. And I want to finish it. I got, 5 bags of cement. That's why my back hurts. But in a 6-foot patch, that'll finish me up. But anyway, it's raining too much to do it. And in opportune times. But in order to keep yourself polarized to the earth and to keep yourself up to date with what's going on, just remember that the left hand is good for other things. Now, it is usually negative, and you should do a little test with yourself. Some folks will hold a crystal up on a string, just a crystal, big one, little one, usually just a small one that's appropriate, and ask it to spin or whatever. Some folks use the copper rods. That's very effective. Copper, not steel or aluminum. Copper. Copper's, if you have pieces of copper and you're having problems in the garden, I'm getting ready to redo this. But the more I read about copper, I've been using steel flower thingies that I picked up in a garbage 20 years ago and using them to stake up tomatoes. And now I'm finding out that the steel in the ground may be causing a negative polarity in my garden is the reason I can't grow certain vegetables now. And that folks have changed the polarity in their garden by taking anything steel out of their garden, including going and buying a copper shovel. And that they've seen a reverse in their garden simply by doing those things. And I'm like, it's very possible that I've got a negatively charged garden in the back because I'm like the master of, chicken manure, dirt, leaves that are dry, and I'm Mr. Organic Gardening here for the last 40 years or so, and certain things simply won't even come up. Even though I know the seeds are good, I can put them in another pot someplace else and the seeds will come up. But there are other reasons why they won't perform. But anyway, to the point though, I'm like, well, what's wrong? So when I start thinking about how much the magnetism has changed and altered and what steel spikes in my garden would be doing, it could very well be negatively charged. So I'm collecting all those items and going to move them out of my garden. And I was instructed that you could, and I've cleaned out way back in the old days, tore down some tobacco barns and old houses, and I've pulled wire out of those houses. And I still have long pieces of maybe 6, 8, 10, 12 feet of wire, the old 2 kind of wire. Some of it even has the old frilly, tapey cloth on it. That's how old it is, but it's still copper wiring. And so I was told that if you make a coil, like basically just take it and wrap around your hand in a coil 2 or 3, maybe 4 times, and a piece maybe yay long, and just stick it in the ground, sort of like one of those cup holders that you would go and put down in the sand at the beach or something to hold your drink, like that, except that you would just make it out of an old piece of copper wire. Take the tape or the rubber off because it does matter. There's something about the GANs and what forms on the copper itself helps to transmit and will actually pick up like ultrasonic energies is the best I can explain it. energies on a quanta that have to do with how the copper is oxidized, the fact that it is oxidizing, but what it's doing on a very, very small plasmic type miniature layer. But it will help charge the earth and what's going on. So that's an ongoing project for me. I got a piece of wire just messing with it. But I people have donated things to me over the years, and uh, I had dreams of having a big area for producing puppet shows and things. I might still do that, but what it means is though that I have a lot of pieces of scrap and stuff that I've been just waiting to rebuild my shed and put in this new area. So, but in the meantime, if it's going to help my garden grow, I'm going to give this stuff a whirl. So now, if you're trying to change your energy patterns, and if you're trying to make sure that you're in the right polarity, I guess would be the easiest way to put it, is to go and sit down and talk with a tree. Now, again, the information that you wish from the tree or from the universe or whatever is important. Now, for example, pine trees have these antennae that stick up with all their needles. Okay, that's really important. Any type of tree or shrub, shrubs are hard to sit under, you know what I mean? So, but to the point, needle point, anyway, pine needle. Young pine trees, ones about yay tall, just above your head, if you can stand back, especially at night, usually on a dark night, it doesn't necessarily need any type of moonlight. I've noticed, I've taken people out to a young pine forest and they freak out because they can see the aura and the energy coming off these young pine trees. It's unbelievable. They're about, 6, 8, 10 foot tall. When they get taller, it's harder to see. But when they're small, like Christmas tree things, oh my goodness, when you go at the right times, the energy will be pushing off by, a foot to 16 inches easily. And you can just visually see it. That's how strong these things are. So take that into consideration. So if you really need to pick up some prickly kind of energy and real high vibrations, and you can find some young pine trees, the younger the better, and to help pick up some of that energy, you'll be nicely rewarded. Always always, bring at least kindness when you come. Always bring respect and honor to whatever it is you wish to share the energy with. Now, there are going to be people who say, well, Mr. Dave, that sounds like some kind of worship. Sorry, wrong. This is not a cult. This is not about worship. This is about respect of all things. All things. And you should show it. In a way, it's a must, because you're not going to get what you want if you don't. I mean, that's just as simple as that goes, So good in, good out, I bring you honor and respect and loyalty to you, my tree. I thank you. Will you share your energy? Now, what the hell is wrong with that? Nothing, nothing's wrong with that. Because at least you're giving recognition to what is there. You're giving recognition to the universe, because that's what this is really all about, tuning into the universe. So if you wish to just say, it's just a tree, then you really need to take another real serious look. Now, I'm going to bring this up just because it's a reference point to a lot of people, but if you really understood what Lucas and them were saying about Yoda and them in the Jedi Knights, if you really look at what they're discussing, that's what I'm discussing. And Yoda talks about it, in a way that you must feel it, Luke. You must feel the force. And that really is what it is. Now you can say, well, that's all glorified and everything, but it's not. It is the force. It is the force of nature. It is the force of the planet. It is the force of us. It is the force of the universe. It is. Now, okay, that's hokey pokey, but you have to understand that it's even more deeper than that, because there are so many dimensions and other realities that are like slipping by us all the time. And we can't see them now because of the vibration where we're at. Our vibration is being changed. They said it was going to happen. We're here, you know, and with all the Schumann resonance and everything going on, yeah, I feel a change. There are times when I feel like that potato in the microwave and don't know how else to explain it, but I'm sitting there like, I'm not having a seizure. My brain's not going fry, but my body's going, what? The earth ain't moving, but I am. I'm like, wow, where did that come from? You know, and then sometimes it'll last for 2 minutes. I've had it last recently 30 minutes going, I know this is not a seizure, but holy cow, you know, calm down. And nothing has changed in my life. I haven't changed medicines. Nothing has changed except for the time and the frequencies coming in to the planet now and being vibrated back out. So I'm saying this because I need to go out and find a tree tomorrow. I need to be out there somehow, or even it might even be tonight. I need to go out and find one of my special trees and ask permission to sit down. Now, if you're looking for wisdom, then find an old oak tree. Now there are the oak trees, deciduous, which lose their leaves. Those have a slightly different um, history or knowledge because they go dormant and sleep in the wintertime. We're down here in the south, and I'm not sure how far up north it goes. I can't remember, but we have live oaks down here that lose their leaves, but it's like over the course of the year. They don't just shed all their leaves and are bare. But these are live oak trees. And so they have a different energy. It's like their energy is almost more ancient for some reason because they're awake all the time, if you get that part, versus a tree that loses all its leaves, like a maple or a poplar or something like that. So not that that's a bad thing, mind you, it's just that it's different. Same thing with juniper trees and Scotch pine, all the Christmassy tree type things, any type of pine tree or evergreen has that kind of energy, okay? And it had to do with part of the destruction many, 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 many millions of years ago, or thousands of years ago at least. Like, I think probably going back to the 12,000 year mark, there's a good period right in there where a lot of things happen. Well, one of the things that happened was the changes on the earth. All of the other trees sort of died out. They went dormant for a long time. Many of the oak trees, they stayed alive just because they were old. Live oak trees, because the earth hadn't rolled or it was warmer, they were able to stay alive all the time. Those were considered by Creator to be the most spiritual of trees because they stayed alive. They gave mankind hope. Without the evergreen and without the pine, then mankind would have said, we're screwed. But because of these hardy trees, and because they were able to do and protect and show mankind that, yep, the world has really turned to crap, but we're still here. Creator is actually helping us to stay alive here. And that's what makes them so sacred, even to this day. Okay? So if you understand this little history lesson about why pine trees are pine trees, for example, they're actually very spiritual. If you look at what the old legends, and legends are being proven more correct now than not. So, but the old legends, the old stories about why they are evergreen trees. Anybody ever tell you that story? Why are they evergreens? It was because that was sort of like Noah's Ark from Creator and Mother Earth. We're alive, so you have hope. You can go back in that cave and live for a while, but you're going to still see us evergreens out here. We're still going to be here, and that's what makes us sacred. So which kind of energy do you need? Do you need pine tree energy, which is more of a pick me up and blah, blah, blah? Or do you need to look into now you can get both from an oak tree. Okay. But pine trees are younger unless you get one that's bigger than two people can put your arms around. Oak tree's going to have it beat, you know. I mean, I've seen these trees on my property grow for the last 40 years. And this oak tree isn't as big around at the trunk as some of the pine trees on the hill. So, but I know the pine trees on the hill are younger than this oak tree is by at least 20 years. So, but anyway, so, you can't really tell by how big around the tree is as to how ancient or whatever, but all trees gather knowledge and everything is collected in a network in the earth. It's also like spiders. Ooh, that's going to be a topic. Well, maybe this is sort of included in it. Now, this is the things that I'm about to tell you are true things that I showed them to my shaman friend, and it creeped him out because he doesn't like spiders. Okay, I'm not really hip on them either, but to the point though, they were really creeping me out really bad, and he just couldn't stand them no matter where they were or what they were. Just don't like spiders. But which for someone who can, stand and be stabbed and be dripping blood in a ceremony, but he's scared of a spider. That's the way it goes. Sometimes some people have a small spider can have a great spirit, and it can have great energy with them as well, by the way. Now, spiders are messengers, and because the spiders, there have been studies shown, and I was amazed at this. Now, I'm just going to say there's 15 or 20. There's more than that. I was shocked. They took like a 3 by 3 foot area in a field, and they did a 3 by 3 here and a 3 by 3 over there and a 3 by 3 over there in the same field, but in different plots of the field. And what they found in each of those 3 by 3 foot areas, they counted how many insects, spiders, whatever, were in those areas. Now, they did the study at different places in the United States. Like the Midwest, like, okay, Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, up in there somewhere. Okay, down here in the South, a little bit further down, climate's a little different, soil's different, okie dokie. What they found were there were between like 15 and 65 different types of spiders in that 3 by 3 area. I said types, not spiders, types of spiders. And they were like shocked. And that what they found when they got close to the ground in the field and really looked what was there, they noticed that all of the spider webs across the field were connected. All of the spiders' webs at some point touched another point of another spider web, and this went on and on and on. And I was like, oh my goodness. Well, now it's traditional down here in the South in the fall or winter, early spring, usually fall or early spring. You burn off all of the old stuff underneath the pine trees so it's not a fire hazard in the summertime or any time actually. And so they've been doing control burning down here since forever. Well, I'm a naturalist, and I'm like, I don't necessarily. I've seen what happens when they burn every year, and nothing grows. Well, that's the point. But when I leave mine and only burn it every other 2-3 years, I get different kinds of trees to come up and different bushes, and the birds bring in seeds and things sprout up. They're called volunteers, And I'm like, well, if I burned every year, that wouldn't have grown there. But by leaving it fallow for 2, or maybe now it's my 3rd year, I have other trees growing in the pines and other things. The people next to me, 400 feet away, all that's growing there is pine trees. A little bit of swamp grass, but there's no diversity. Now, my place, there's diversity. And by allowing it to be natural, it has become more diverse by not burning it every year. Now, yes, it does help. And yes, I will burn again because there are too many, there's like places where the pine needles are this thick, and there's no way to get them out. It used to flood every year and wash all these things away and give me a fresh start where I didn't have to burn. But now there's so much back there that if it ever caught on fire, it would burn forever. It would smolder. There's only so much I can use in my garden, because I do go down there and get those things and bring them up to the garden. Now, the energies now with the trees. Think of a pine tree with all the pine needles sticking up as antenna to the universe, which they are. If you think about the different shapes of leaf, like in the oak tree that I've got here is more in line of a pin oak. It loses its leaves, but it's more of an oval versus a big oak leaf type leaf, or the live oak trees further south from here. Now, I do have a few live oak trees on my property because I'm on the edge of North Florida, South Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi. There's a little line across here. I'm right on that line. And because just north of me, actually, things change with habitat slightly and trees. It's really weird, but interesting. Anyway, south of the, never mind. So if you allow yourself to sit under the pine tree and meld with it, try to put as much of your back. If you've got hair, just let it fall down. You can leave it in a ponytail or whatever, like I do with mine. But I lean up against the tree after asking, and sometimes I might burn a little sage or something, or at least I will say a little prayer in front of it, just saying, "Thank you, Mother Earth. Thank you, Father Sky. Thank you, Sister Moon. Thank you, Creator. Thank you, Source. And allow me to sit beneath you and share the energy with you. Thank you." And then sit down. That's okay. Is that magical? Yes. Why? Because it's simply honor and respect. That is so important. People miss this. You're not going to get there unless you have this basic feeling. Now, all right, I've seen people waving all this sage and stuff, but they don't really get it. And I'm not poking fun. I'm not poking fingers at anyone. That's not my point. My point is you must understand that these core energies are everywhere. And you must respect walking across the grass. I'll say, okay, I'm here. All right, grass, I'm coming through. I know it sounds stupid, but you're giving respect. Has nothing to do with worship or cultism. It has to do with honor and respect. The vibration that you put out when you walk in the woods, to a tree, to other human beings, if you walk with honor and respect for anything that you come in contact with, it's almost like a shield, because there are going to be those energies that are going to go, what the hell's that? Because if you have your core love for any being and where you are, the true shaman is able to walk in this aura, and it goes with him when he walks. People see it in other folks. People understand it. And I'm trying to learn and the thing is that it's about releasing all the man-made stuff and just allowing it to happen. Just allowing it to happen. And it's really difficult for some people. I know I'm still at it. I don't consider myself to be like, the great shaman on earth. Not my point. But this is my journey. And I can't deny that. I must admit that this is my journey. That's why I'm here. That's why I've studied. And that's why I'm going to try to explain to anyone who will listen these basic things. Now, the really neat thing is all of us are shamans. That's what Christ said. That's what Buddha says. All of the Buddhas, all of the different prophets, we are brothers in our hearts, in our souls. We are the spirit. And our vibration is that spirit. And so the more we are in harmony with all of our surroundings, even if it's negative, you can just put on your little safety bubble and go, I'm going to honor this area. It might be negative, but I choose not to absorb it. Now, I haven't been able to figure out how to stop a bullet, but I have been missed. Don't want to go there. Missed a knife, almost got knife. I mean, okay. So one could say, well, that was a near miss, and it was, but I got into some bad things many years ago out of just damned it. I was dealing in some heavy duty methamphetamines before it was even popular. This was back in the mid 70s. But I lost my job. I lost my this. There was a bunch of stuff that happened. So it wasn't that I just decided to go sell methamphetamines. It didn't work that way. However, I got into some really nasty, heavy duty stuff, got busted in Tampa, Florida, and was almost had to serve 20 years. And I had some good luck. Now, I helped that good luck promote it. That's for another story. And I have discussed it before. But this is how to get yourself out of a shitty situation and 20 years in state pen for, a little bit of blow. But it was how it unfolded that we came down from Georgia and we brought it with us. We crossed state lines and they wanted us bad. And they got me for a year instead of 20. So, I understood then that you had to match the energy from where you were because there's a lot of bad characters in jail. Literally, I worked in the kitchen and was was the supervisor of the kitchen and in charge of the stockroom. I figured out how to get in good. But the sergeant of the kitchen was from South Georgia and I knew his nephew. That helped a little bit too. Of course, I bought weed from his nephew. I didn't say that to the Sarge. Now, but to the point, though, he trusted me and could trust me, and that's a good energy. That's natural magic. You find something within somebody, whether you really get along real good or not, but you find the good in them, and you work with that. You don't fool them. You work with it. You must be honest, or it won't work. That's the magic of the nature of this. Now, by having respect for all things, even in crappy situations like me being in prison, it's like, okay, what kept me alive in prison was my being able to lie on my bunk at night and think of what it sounded like in the house where I lived before I went down to Florida for a weekend and stayed for over a year. So, but I could hear the hog pens on the farm where I lived. And the hogs would get up in the middle of the night and they'd lift up that little lid and you'd go, blap, blap. Some tin, blap, blap, and you'd hear blap, 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 blap. And so at nighttime when I was in prison and there was so much noise going on and everything is steel and concrete, the vibrations are horrible. So I would hear, on the third floor, we could still hear stuff going on in the kitchen due to the vibrations of the steel and everything through the building, okay? And so, well, anyway, so it was noisy all the time, even when it was supposed to be quiet. Well, I would focus on the sound of those hog parlors and the sound of those tins flapping over the corn feeders. And I could transport myself to that farm and see it. I actually could recall things. And when I got out of prison, I went back to that house and not directly, there were people living in it. But when the ghost found out that I was back, he chased those people out and then they rented the house back to me. That is a true story. Because I'd lived there for like 6 years before and then got thrown in prison. And then the ghost did not like the people that moved into that house. There were 3 families in about a yearish that I was gone. And the last folks were like, we can't stay here any longer. The ghost we can't handle it. And the ghost was glad to see us back. However, that same ghost had to wake us up when the house burned down. Anyway, but these are the kinds of stories that have truly happened to me, and what I understand about the nature of this core energy between human beings, how we can draw upon even through the concrete if we use our focus. So I mean, everything was steel. The bars are steel, the bunks are steel, or it's concrete with steel reinforcement. And so, you were always touching either one or the other, it's just the way it was. So I would allow myself, you couldn't get away from touching steel, even on your mattress, because the mattress was so small that, I used the building to ground myself with. And so I would allow my consciousness to go through the bars, and my focus point was the sound of where I lived on that hill that was magical in itself, and listening to the sounds of the farm around me. And I would find myself sitting on the front porch up here in Georgia instead of down in prison in Florida. And it's one of the only things that helped me to survive that time in prison, because it was nasty on me. But I used what I had to transform and transfer that energy so that I was still home at nighttime so I could get some rest. And then I would come back to reality in prison when they woke me up. Okie dokie. You say, well, that's a little far-fetched, but I'm here to tell you, I survived it. I made it. Take it for what you will. Going back to the trees. So I'm telling you, this has to do with anything that is made out of steel or concrete. They're still parts of the earth. They're still minerals and things. So we can, regardless of our situation, if we allow ourselves to use what's there, and you could find a place in an apartment building, or maybe you can't get away, but you can go out on a balcony with a little steel, thingy, and maybe you can sit out there, and that's as far away that you can get. Well, but you can focus and use that railing around you as an antenna if you wish to, okay, to pick up vibes. And it might be that you put your right hand over here and your left over here. You'd be surprised at some of the stuff you can pick up, especially if you allow it. Now, I'm not talking about channeling. This discussion has nothing to do with allowing stuff to come in. I'm talking about just energy, all right? This has nothing to do with communication. Now, you may get some, and I would immediately, when you're doing this, project, I wish only positive. That's all you have to do, is just whatever I want to tune into, I wish it to be positive. And that right there is like well, I ain't getting in here because they're already warning me. So arm yourself before you start doing this stuff. So you may have to first ground yourself to the earth before you approach a good tree. And now, I can't tell what your particular situation is, but if you're doing the 9 to 5 and you're dealing with this and that, and there's a bunch of hubbub around you, then you might have to ground yourself, okay? And just understand it. Left on the ground, maybe both hands, maybe you've got a backwards grounding, and it might be you do this way. Understand that there is a natural way things do progress. And if you go against those at the wrong time, thinking you're doing it correctly, you may be making a large mistake and could actually harm you more than help you. And you go, well, that didn't turn out real good. Or maybe it could have been better had you understand there may be a difference. So you can get charged energy. This won't get it, because you have to focus and do But if you do ground and sky, you are an antenna. And AM radios work by the coils and things that are in the ground. AM radio uses Mother Earth and the atmosphere, always has, in order to work. That's why you can hear AM in the mountains and not FM, okay? They're using earth magic. Tesla was in on this mess, okay? That's earth magic. AM radio. Oh, my goodness. Okay. So, if you really understand this, then you can tap in to radio stations by just finding the right place and going. I mean, I've picked up songs, albums, heard them. I mean, and then turn on the radio and go right to the station. But it's usually for me on the low band. However, because of all the frequencies on the earth and everything that's changing, those two. So where it might have been 600 on the radio, 720 on the radio dial. Now I might pick up something around the 1120 or 1250 range now, because the frequencies on the earth and in our atmosphere are changing right now. So that's important. Now we can each find these frequencies and we can each find these vortexes for ourselves, regardless of where we're at. But it requires us to discharge. It allows, which also means that we need to not necessarily recharge, but maybe make sure our polarity is correct. Okay. Now, like I say, I'm not poking any fingers at anybody, and it might be your left hand that you're doing this, and down here with the right, or you got another way worked out. Okay, you do what you feel is necessary, and you do what you feel is right. But there are old teachings that what I'm saying, this is based upon. Not cutting anyone down. I want to be absolutely positively certain that you understand this is not a critique against anyone. This is a critique in how people and tribes, civilizations, shamans, teachings, and I may have been trained by a shaman, medicine man from a different part of the United States, and him or her teach me differently about the left and the right, because many tribes have different methods. In fact, one time in Tennessee, I'll never forget this, one particular tribe always entered from the east, which kind of makes sense. You know, the rising sun. And so, but you enter the sacred circle that's blessed from the east. And other tribes are going, no, 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 you can't do that. That's sacrilege. You can only come in from the north. And these folks weren't going to do anything, because we come in from the north and you guys come in from the east, and holy crap. Oh my God. I mean, there was almost fisticuffs. I mean, talk about a war party, and it was between customs of the Native American people. Now, some of them came in from the north, and some of them came in from the east. So come on now, let's be respectful to everybody. Don't make one have to do the other. Allow these folks who are, say, Cherokee and here, and, Muskogee Creek and so forth. We come in from the east, then please, we'll come in from the east. But when you folk come in and do a ceremony, you come in from the north and follow your traditions, please. So, but instead, they had to choose. And it was like, but that's the wrong answer. If you're brought up to come in from the north, then come in from the north. Please come in from the north. And you folk to come in from the east, please come in. There are some eagle dancers or whatever that will dance the dance backwards. And I've sat in the dancing area with folks and knew people who were jingle dancers and, different dancers. And so we would, over 15 years, I learned these things and discernment, and one saying this, but tribes from the Navajo to the Iroquois to the Sioux and Lakota and the Muskogee Creek, and the shell dancers, the turtle dancers, who will dance. Stomp dancers will dance all night long. I'm talking about you got to be with it to dance with them folk. Oh my God, they will literally not stop for hours, called a stomp dance. And a lot of times they will start at 2 or 3 in the morning and stomp all night long until the sun comes up. Honest to God. I'm talking bunches of people. Boom, boom, boom. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And there is magic in that stomp dance I cannot explain. But when they get that rhythm going and everybody is dancing, and it's just a simple thing, nothing glorious, but it's the song, it's the intent, it's the message given to Mother Earth, it's the respect back, it's the intent of all these people doing this tradition, and oh my God, it's powerful. I mean, you'll be dancing and literally not feel the ground, but know that your feet are stomping. Unbelievable. And most will wear these, um, they'll make leggings full of old tin cans and things, like the little flat cans, and they'll empty them out and then put something over. The traditionalist will use turtle shells and fill them with rocks or pebbles or sacred items, maybe bones or something or whatever, and then tie them to the ankles and around the calves, and that those were the rattles that they stomp dance with. Phenomenal. So those kind of earth energies, I mean, it looked like the entire group of people rose up off the ground. I mean, I was like, this is just so powerful. Now, I've got a bad leg that needed healing, and I could not join at that time. I would love to have another opportunity to be in a stomp dance. Now, they might have to hold me up through it the rest of the way for me to make it, but I'll put it in there. But to the point, though, with your intent and the energy of the other people, where you might feel like you would have fallen down 10 minutes ago, you will go for another hour and a half with unbelievable strength of energy and earth energy. There are no magicians with magic wands. There is sage, which is respect. There are sacrifices of maybe something that someone carved, and they offer it to the in that sacred fire as a gift, not in worship. But I made this with, with my hands, Mother Earth, Father Sky. I prayed into this, and I wish this to be my offering as a continued prayer, as so much honor and respect that I'm going to take a handmade object I made and donate it to this fire to keep this fire sacred. Is that worship? That's just respect. That is just respect and honor and humility. I offer this thing I made. No one told me there's not a sacrifice, but if there are those people who will look at that deed as, well, he just offered a sacrifice to the fire, in a way, but it's not in a worship kind of way. It's because of the intent, the energy that was in the item, the fact that fire transforms things. It sends our prayers up to the heavens when we're outside with the fire and in those circumstances. So that makes the fire sacred in itself. The fact that we are using, however big the fire is, as intent for a prayer, as intent to open up a way to that other realm, because the fire takes material things, and with it and the smoke, it helps to open up these portals, these vortexes. Okay, especially when there's good intent and dancing, and good drum, and let me make sure that any type of thing with good intent, it can just be people sitting around with guitars or harmonicas or tambourines or something. It is the intent. Music is a vibration. Music is a color. And when things are offered up with goodness and positive energy and with intent, so people sitting around the fire singing Kumbaya with the right intent is just as powerful as Native Americans doing drumming and doing their song. It's the intent of the group and the song that goes into it, okay? So it is the vibration of it, the energy of it, the light of the sound that is produced during that, harmonies that people will obviously put in a lot of times, croaky voices, high-pitched voices, deep bass voices that can't sing at all, all times, folks, okay? And just the nature of what's going on, the crackling of the fire, and all of these things create an energy all of their own together as a quantum. So, it's just a fire in the woods and a bunch of people singing. Well, it could be more. And generally, if folks aren't getting drunk and falling down and slapping and arguing, then generally that is true. You will have a good experience. a good campfire session with people in the right frame of mind without going, oh, that's hokey, blah, blah, blah. Well, then whatever it is, you can just have simple, good conversation without, and that is good intent in itself. You don't have to make music. You can sit around the fire and calmly discuss and be friends with folk. And that, with its intent in the fire, that's good as well. So there is good positive energy in all things, especially if you put just a little bit of thought to it. Hey, here I'm sitting with some friends around the fire. Wow, this is pretty cool, man. The energy feels pretty cool. Wow, this is interesting. If you put a little bit more thought into it and help to push that energy along, to help flow that energy, then everybody else could get like a supercharge. And if you said, hey, everybody, let's just all go, hit a note. Let's just all hum together for a second, Let's like play the kazoo, get our vibrations up just for a joke. And if somebody says, oh, that's silly, then the laughter and the good-naturedness of it will also increase the experience. These are all spiritual. That's a ceremony. Sitting around a campfire is a ceremony in so many ways. Now people get away from that and want to go, blah, 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 blah. And so they're usually sitting on the ground or on a stump. Okay, so you're sitting in a metal lounge chair. Okay, fine. But you're at least outside and your feet are on the ground usually, and you're around. And so you at least making the effort. All right. Some people can't sit on the ground or get up from the ground like me sometimes. But to the point, though, if you at least make the effort in a park or a nearby something, get yourself out. If you can build a fire, even if it's in one of those little roadside grates, build a fire. Sit around it and just let it get dark, It doesn't cost much. You can collect little twigs along the way and a tiny bag of charcoal. And if you do it just right, it'll make a bunch of fires. And all you got to do is just throw some twigs in there. But it will give you a peace and a sense. And if you burn different types of woods, you'll get the smoke from those. And if you put a little bit of pine needle on it, you'll get the blessing of the pine. If you put a little bit of a juniper or whatever on it, you'll get that blessing too. So in these little fires, in these little things, these little ceremonies, you are creating your own little vortex. And if you go searching for these little places and you find them, then you can also ground yourself. And you probably, just by being there and touching this and touching a tree and picking up twigs, you will ground yourself and diffuse a lot of pent up energy that it'll just come out kind of natural. If you just go out in the woods and do these little pick up twigs, blah, 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 these simple things will help take this energy out. If you're trying to focus on a ceremony, that's a different story. If you're trying to help a person, then you wish to channel this energy. Now, with that said, that's a whole nother ballgame. I'm going to stick with just simple earth magic leaning up against the tree. So the more you get in touch with all of these simple things, connecting with the tree, think of the leaves as your hair. It's the extension of your spine. And that if you allow the energy to transform from the bottom of your butt up the tree and into the leaves, just close your eyes, breathe in, just the simple prayer of humility and respect, and may I share your energy. The sap's going up and down the tree. If you've ever looked at them at some of the science movies and things, you can see the little cells going up and down the tree in the sap. That's what's happening most of the time in most trees, especially evergreen trees. So now you're up against this tree. You ground with the tree. Now, the reason I said all this thing with the smoke and everything is because if you're in for a real, I need to recharge and I need to speak to the tree, you may well build yourself a little fire, a little something, a little as part of it, and that will help you to ground before you get to the tree without going into some other type of ritual type of grounding. So as you sit underneath this tree, imagine yourself as your blood cells that are moving through your body, through your veins, through your um, bloodstream, being pumped by your heart. Now, think the tree has different layers of bark, and it's the layers of the bark that are the heart of the tree. They vibrate in such a way as some of the cells go up and some of the cells go down. Now, you're not going to hear that from any scientist that the different layers of the bark create a pressure like a heartbeat. And that's what, I mean, what else is moving in a tree? But the tree bark and the different layers create a difference of atmospheric pressure, which acts like a heartbeat. And if you sit back and allow your mind, you don't have to do anything fancy. Just think of the tree, think of these why, think of what it would be like to just be sitting in the top of a tree, looking out, swaying in the breeze, just take it easy, let your imagination go a little bit, but allow your energy to mix with the tree because you will share the same energy, especially up and down your spine. It will help clear your spine. It may even help to heal your spine. I know I've sat under some trees and asked for some healing. And I mean, I should be in a wheelchair now, and I'm not. I don't get around as like I want to, but I'm getting around without a wheelchair or a cane. And I used to. So I'm getting better instead of worse the older I'm getting because of my intent, because of the energy I wish to portray. I'm going to heal, dang it. I am not going backwards. I made it this far. I'm not going back into a wheelchair. It took me this long to get out of it. But with that, that's my own personal energy. That's my own personal choice. But it's also my story. And yes, you can do it if you put your mind to it. I've showed it to too many other people, and they've improved their lives simply by believing that they could change it. And it's not impossible, but it does take faith. It takes faith in yourself. It takes faith in the information that all of this energy exists all the time. If you, like Mr. Tesla said, if you can channel or gather or collect this natural energy in the atmospheres, then we can power everything and anything. And it can power us. It powers everything else. I mean, how do trees live? Okay, they're stuck in the ground, they got roots, but how are they doing it? Okay. Does anybody ever, oh, well, this does and the photosynthesis and okay. Anybody ever tell you about the heartbeat of the different layers of the trees? That's an inside type of shaman understanding because all things are living. We all breathe in some way or another. So if you ask and you share and the tree will share, then your consciousness and the trees and the energy of the tree that's being pumped will help you clear your own energy. And as you just stay clear and you can ground your hands, I usually find a place on either side. I might have a crystal in one hand. I usually have my left hand grounded. Find the spot nearest you or whatever that feels the best. And then the other hand is sort of like, okay, I try to maybe find part of the root of the tree or the bottom of the bark. So I'm grounded to the ground, but I'm also have my hand on the tree itself. So rather than sitting with my hands to myself, which is too inclusive to oneself, that's not sharing. So become like the tree. Put a hand on the ground and put your other hand on the tree. So you're grounding with the tree. You're sharing your energy. Allow the earth magic to come through you like the tree does all the time. So you're going to act like the tree. Hand on the ground, hand on the tree, and back up against it. Allow this to happen. If you will open your third eye and look with your eyes closed, you'll see the most amazing thing as you go up that tree. And when you experience the little fluttering feeling on the top of a pine tree, it's exhilarating. The first time I actually got there, I was like, this is the best. No yoga, No whatever can show me anything more cool than being at the top of a pine tree while I'm sitting at the base. I mean, just okay. Now, but I mean, with that fact though, that if you show respect to whatever you wish to share with another person, I mean, whatever, it's the honesty and the respect, the honor that you bring, not worship, not a cult. It's respect and honor. Anybody want to give you a bunch of milk about it, just say, I honor Mother Earth. I honor Father Sky. That is my prayer. I wish peace upon the earth, peace upon the sky, and peace to all my fellow human beings, all critters, all creations, all plants, all my ancestors, all my relatives, all the ancients, all the angels, and especially to Creator and to Source. Thank you. You'll get recharged. I mean, I'm kind of getting recharged just sitting here discussing it. So, but, you know, is anybody still on? I'm just like, stay on topic. Stay on topic. Miss Phoebe, are you still there? I don't know who's on. But anyway, it says one person is. I hope this has been a little bit of information. I know it's an hour and almost 30 minutes into this, but it was important for me to show other different types of how to stay in touch or get in touch, as well as how to like finally get to allowing a tree to have a discussion with you, kind of thing. I mean, to me, that's an important deal. And here lately, it seems like so many people simply aren't being respectful. And my earlier little video that I was doing about those folks who are, I'm cheating, by the way. As I'm doing this video, I'm thinking about those folks in Thailand in that cave. I was in an earlier video and discussed about my years of being a spelunker and being in caves in the earth, and how difficult it is for a flooded cave. The fact that I have been in caves that flooded while we were in them, and you know, you never know when a really nasty thunderstorm's going to come and fill up your little area. And with limestone and how it is down there in limestone caves, the whole ground is like a sponge, and it just weeps in places, and some places it pours through. And so there's so many people wanting to give these guys a hard time for getting trapped back there. And if it was a tradition for them to go all the way to the back of the cave as, like, you know, the right of being a teenager, there were things we did as kids. I mean, growing up in Tampa, there were sewer systems and flood drain systems under the ground that we would go for miles under the ground. Nobody knew us kids were in there, you know. And there were times when some really nasty stuff happened. Once or twice, one kid did get, I mean, but anyway, to the point though, yeah, they could have dug up the street and blah, blah, blah. But to the point though, it has to do with young kids doing what young kids do, like a rite of passage. So I don't think the soccer coach had anything particularly bad in mind. They were going to go to the back of the cave and do their thing and come out, like so many other people do, because it's an adventure. You're at that age and you want to do it. You know, I don't think anybody held a gun up to these kids to do this. It was something they wanted to do. It was a tradition, and that's positive. But to have a nasty thunderstorm come along and then trap yourself, get trapped down in the cave where they got, that's just a shame. And so for folks to be rattling with all this negativity, oh, just let them die. What? Come on, we're better than that. I've been in caves and been trapped. That's not fun. And you don't plan it. It's not supposed to happen. But for people to be using this negative energy against a really already bad situation, And what? Now you have to pour in your negative. Well, they should have never went. Well, but they did. It was a rite of passage. Now, most of us kids growing up, we did things that was sort of a rite of passage. They were dumb as hell, jumping off a bridge into the river, Hillsborough River, different places, doing stuff. Oh my God, walking across the railroad trestle when a train was coming to see if you could beat the train or if you had to jump in the river. Oh my God, how stupid is that? 11, 12 years old. Okay, we didn't have a cave to go into. Same kind of thing, but these were kids who went in there to do this thing. With that said, I'm hoping, I'm praying to say, man, we got to hang on, folks. You people who are all these negative, nanny, yabby, just look, hang on. Hang on. Let's all chill and focus our energy and say, the water's going to slow down in the mountain. We're all going to think about the water being still in the mountain. We're all going to think positively, like we're going to be little Johnny whatevers and put our finger in a million little tiny dikes in that mountain. And we're going to hold the water back long enough for them guys to get through those nasty passages without a lot of torrential water flowing so fast going through those caves. We can think this thing. If we change, if we were to do this, we could at least minimize it. We can hold the rain off. I mean, it's rained on my property when it didn't rain anywhere else. And that was because I was outside with a drum and was wishing real hard. Folks laugh at that, but there was about a quarter mile area down here that got a nice rain shower when we needed it last 2 summers ago, or last summer, actually. So, but, yeah, it's funny, but if we create enough good energy, Creator and Mother Earth will at least give you a tiny little shower to rinse off with. So with a giant collected energy, we could just slow the water down. We don't have to stop it or make it go away. Let's just slow the water. Let's collectively think that the water going into that, because we're on Mother Earth. If we ask Mother Earth, the water will slow. She could slow it down with a miracle. Yes. Now, there might be other ideas. Maybe there's some type of sonic device that they could put a pulse in the earth that would slow the water down in some of these channels. Well, I know how big some of these channels are, and they're humongous. And the amount of water that's coming from up the mountain, down through these channels are horrendous. It's like the one diver said, it's like being in the Colorado River. Well, I've been on the Colorado River, and I've been on Lake Mead up above Hoover Dam. And I've seen different areas. Anyway, I understand what that means. And I've been in caves when the water was coming through the cave at that kind of speed. And the best you can say, it's a torrent of water. And unless you've been in a torrent of water, it's like nothing. You can't stand up. It's like 10 water hoses blasting you at the same time. The big fire hose, water hoses. That's tough. And it hurts, actually. And so, and the more water, the higher up the hill, the more the velocity and the hydraulics that will push this water into the mountain where these folk are. So, and the mountain obviously has pores all over the place. And when I know that one particular time when we had that frog strangler down here in South Georgia, there was water coming in from places while we were up underneath the ground. And that I was like, where's this water coming from? And it would be like, there'd just be this little crack up over the top and of the side of the cave. And all of a sudden it would, it just a little hole about this big. All of a sudden water would come shooting out of that thing like at 90 miles an hour, knock you down, hit you in the head kind of deal. And you go, what the hell? And it went from 0 to 100 like that. You saw a little trickle, and then all of a sudden you hear a hiss, and then water shoots out this thing. But that's when you get 3-4 inches in a half hour, something like that, which is what happened there, which what is happening all over the world now. But when you're in the earth, especially in limestone, that kind of thing, if that kind of thing happens, then yes, I've been trapped. I've had to go underwater to come up on the other side. It's not like these kids are in, but it's very, very similar because the areas that we got flooded in were only as deep. Well, the water was up to our chest up here. We were walking through a narrow chamber, and I'm talking about maybe 2 foot wide. And there'd be rocks sticking out to where you'd have to hike one leg up on the other side and come down it like this and actually dip your head down to get up underneath the rock that's sitting here. So you'd have to do this sawtooth kind of thing. You'd duck underwater, come under a rock, and then you'd come up on the other side of that rock to step over that one and then back down the other side. That's what these folks are going through. These kids crawled through these mazes of like teeth, okay? And they crawled between them, and that's how they got back there. That's how caves are. And so for these folks thinking they're just going to be able to drag them through. Now, I know if the water would slow down, it would be less difficult. And they're trying stuff right now. At least allow them to get water and more things into the cave. Because 9 days in that type of situation, 9 days without light, 9 days thinking you're dead, and somebody comes up and says, hi, what that would do to your psyche, to your soul. And so some of these folks, when they say, whoa, just put a mask on them, they'll come right out. No, chill out. The what they're talking about, some of these, do you know how long a mile is? A mile is 5,200 and something odd feet, right? Okay. But do you know how long a mile is when you have to go through a sawtooth like this? That's different. So what used to be where you wouldn't necessarily be at the ceiling, like, for example, this one spot I'm thinking of in this cave down here in South Georgia, I mean, you have to turn sideways. So how are you going to get through there sideways with the tank on? And this cave flooded. Now, we knew what to do. We didn't have tanks. We just knew that where this tunnel was, what the rocks meant, and that all we had to do was just dunk under, hold our breath for 20 seconds, and we were clear. We knew what was on the other side. These kids don't. And the areas that are flooded are now all the way up to the ceiling. So if I were coming back out of the same cavern and through there, I would have to go to the bottom of the cave to figure out where I was, because of the fact that and so if you go into the same area, but you're higher up, then it's going to be entirely different. If there's a current and you're in that area, it's going to be totally different. The divers are saying they have to pull themselves through. Let's just give them all good energy. And if anybody's trying to be a snafu about it, say, listen, just go down into a cavern somewhere and look and go see what it looks like from the inside. And imagine these boys went in with good intent when it was dry and an emergency happened and flooded part of the section. They couldn't get out. Then it flooded some more and they couldn't get out. And it just got worse. And placing blame on anybody or for any reason is wasted energy that could be spent on at least thinking positive things for pumps, for drills, for air, for the safety of the people, can be transformed, transmuted, and turned into something absolutely positively. Maybe we can save them just with our thoughts. Keep that thought in mind, all right? That's what I discuss all the time, the power of our energies, the power of our will, the power of our souls. We are all angels, and the more of us begin to, oh yeah, okay, I'm an angel. But when you believe you're an angel, then you believe that you can make a difference. So my prayer for I guess for the rest of the night and for a while is going to be to, in an honest, respectful manner, I might even have to get my drum out for real. Sitting right there, by the way. It needs a little drying. It's been a little damp here in the house. I can fix that. Um, but it might even require just a little bit of extra ceremony on my part because I wish positive things. Like I said, I've been in the earth. I've seen it. I've been there. I've been trapped. I get it. And it's no one's fault, but we need to be positive all the way around and just quell these folks. Don't get angry at them. Don't cuss them out because then you're falling into the trap. But when folks are talking about, well, this, that, and blah, blah, just say, listen, it happened. You don't understand. You've never been in a cave. So, but please speak kindly of those people. Please speak kindly. Oh, but there were kids and they had no business. Stop it. Think kindly of them as human beings, and other human beings are trying to be human beings. And so just be a human being and help us out here and think with a good thought, please. They really use it. And if you're into prayer, then say your prayer. If you're into just thinking positive thoughts, then please, you can do that. It doesn't cost a thing. It's free to give. But if you can't give a positive thought, then just please keep the negative to yourself. There's already enough out there without you feeding it. If you're that type of person, and I'm speaking in the esoteric there to those folks out there that I know are putting this mess on right this moment. They're wanting to put these emergency folks down. Well, they're not trying hard enough. Well, you put 2 miles of pipe in a cave that's riggedy raggedy and part of it's flooded. Oh, yeah. Oh, well, all you need is pipe. The information's there, but it's just not getting in. You know what I'm saying? So we got to be patient with these people. However, they're making it. I've already said it. Their negativism is making the issue even harder. Please stop being negative. That's my end of my preaching. Somebody came in. Tinfoil. Did I miss you? You might be gone. Good, we're running straight. Where is the place where these boys went into the cave? I don't know where it is exactly, but it is in Thailand. It's a well-known cave there, so its location we could find on a GPS kind of deal. Yeah, they'll be all right. I thought they were, and I really didn't want to hear about it again. Well, the problem is that they're running out of air. That's an issue. And so, you know, I don't mean to sound pessimistic or negative, but unfortunately, that compromises an alarming percent of life. I really try not to identify with those thoughts, but it ain't me, I know. I hate thinking in terms of survival, but that's life. For years and years already, I wish it could be well and above such worries. I wouldn't even be able to smoke some possum. I mean, it sounds like a bad idea anyway. Well, I don't know. Smoked possum down here in the South was, put a little barbecue sauce on it. And some folks, back in the day when I first moved up here to South Georgia, um, um, you know, I've known several black families over the years down here in the South. And I don't know. I always got along with some of these, the black families better than I got along with the white trash families who were really just sure enough obnoxious rednecks who like to get drunk and beat each other up. And I just ain't there, So, but anyway, we would share stuff, a different meal or whatever. And so one time my co-worker there, the factory I worked at, all these factories are gone now. But so we're working there, and the machine was an extrusion machine. So there was a lot of heat, and we're melting plastic and turning it into carpet backing and things. And so there's an extrusion machine there, and that's our job. Well, so we put our lunch and everything up on top of the heater, so you don't have to go put it in the microwave or whatever. So when you come in, you keep it in some tinfoil, whatever your dinner is, whatever leftovers from the night before. You throw your chicken leg or whatever on top of the heater, right? Okay. So then when it's break time or whatever, then you go, well, we were just exchanging stuff. And he was like, here, man, have some of this. And I'm like, what is it? Oh, don't ask me what it is. Just try it. See if you like it. He said, but it's wild. And I was like, okay, well, I hunted back then. So I was like, okay, wild. So I'm munching on this thing. And I'm like, wow, damn, this is good, man. What is it? He said, man, we went coon hunting over the weekend. He said, that's raccoon you're eating right there. Now, I've seen raccoons. I've chased them out of my damn garden in my chicken pen. You know, I know them, but I've never hunted for coon. Now, I've been around a lot of coon hunters down here in the South, and it used to be you could hear them coon dogs on the weekends, like right about now. You could hear that. Oh, oh. Anyway, it's actually cool, but a lot of them would that was just a way to get out of the house on the way from the old lady so they could go out in the woods and drink some moonshine and let the dogs run. Well, honey, they shoot the gun every once in a while just for the hell of it. But but being natural like that, I mean, I don't know. I kind of got off where I was headed with that. But, you know, there are some folks who it's not about the survival and being pessimistic so much as that, you know, yeah, we all have to be in a survival and et cetera. But then there are those who, without any type of malintent or misintent or being stupid, we're just doing something that a bunch of other folks done, and it just got crappy for them. So my point on that is we should take away the negative energy that other people are putting on this subject and just change it. That's all. You know, stop being with the negative here. Yes, it was bad, and maybe to be more prepared. That's not the issue. The issue now is, can we get them out? How do we get them out? How can we change this really crappy into a good thing? Because we as human beings, I believe in our ingenuity. And I believe there's some ingenious way that something could even, I know there's 12 of them. If 6 get out alive, I'm saying that's a good day. 12 dying in the coach is not a good day to me. Or doing nothing or whatever, that's a bad day in my opinion. If only one person comes out without, you know, then I'm saying that was better than nothing. If they could just get the bodies, whatever the deal is, if they can do at least something. But dying of suffocation in the cave without, might as well just give them all a shot and put them out. And that would be more good in a way. But then that's murder. But then you're going to let them suffocate in the cave, regardless what you're going to give them, because they're not getting the correct light. And because of the cave itself and the fact they've been in there so long has rewired their brain. Folks don't understand that part. That's some serious energy. And I'm going to do a separate video on being in the darkness. That ought to be interesting. Well, I love you all. I really do. And if you've made it this long, blessings to all of you. And if any part of this helped you in any way, my continued blessings with you. Keep as much positive energy, regardless of it. The worst situation, my being in jail and doing all this other, I kept a positive attitude. I came out. I got good time. I had better than anybody else in the jail as a prisoner. You couldn't have done any better than what I did. And I didn't have to kiss anybody's ass. I didn't have to suck anything. I didn't have to bend over. I was just honest and faithful and honorable to my job, to myself, and those people who required it. And when they saw that I respected them without bending over, but I didn't know where all the secret stuff was hidden in the freezer when they wanted a sandwich at 1 in the morning. Okay. So, but it's not kissing anybody's ass. It's like, okay, but you're going to give me 2 more phone privileges next week so I can call home. I'll get up and make you a sandwich. That's barter. That's not being, well, you're just going with the man. No, that's called barter. You might have to bend over and suck something, but all I had to do was make him a sandwich, okay? I know where my things lie, you know, so use your energy as you will. but put yourself in a position in the worst of circumstances and you can change it too. So let's just keep positive and get rid of the hate. Let's debate, negotiate, and come together and unite. Blessings to all of you. I'm going to go get some supper I've been waiting on. Love to you from my heart soul to your heart soul, with all the loving and blessings that I can pass on to you. Please pass it on to another person. iStation Z, you just came on. Oh, good evening. I got to take a break, but I'm too high on this. I might just be coming back on in another hour just because, and discuss darkness, but in a good way. So blessings, iStation. If you're up, come back in a little bit. Let me take a break. Love you all. Goodbye.